Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the language of corporations. Today we're diving into Select Medical Holdings' latest filing. Get ready, because this one has a twist. We're talking about a possible shakeup in how the company's governed, and some diet changes that could be on the menu. Here's a quick overview. We'll go over important stuff like voting info, how the company is run, how the executives are paid, a few proposals from shareholders, and relationships that could affect how things are done. First, let's talk about your vote. It's super important, and Select Medical wants you to use it. Instead of sending everyone a paper copy, they're mostly using the internet now to share the documents, but you can still ask for a paper copy if you want one. The company will even pay for it. Remember, if you own stock as of February 28, you can vote. The board is suggesting how you should vote on each issue. Now, how is Select Medical run? The board of directors is in charge, and they have 10 members. Most of them are independent, meaning they don't have close ties to the company's management, and this is a good thing. They help make sure the company is being run in the best interest of the shareholders. Russell Carson is the lead director, essentially a point person between the chairman and the other independent directors. It is also worth mentioning that the company published a diversity matrix to show some information about the board. The board has 2 female directors and 1 director that is Asian. The board meets at least 4 times each year, and they also have smaller groups called committees that focus on different things. For example, the Audit and Compliance Committee makes sure the company's finances are accurate, and the Compensation Committee decides how much the executives get paid. Speaking of committees, they help the board keep an eye on different risks the company faces, things like regulations, the risk of not getting paid, and even cybersecurity. The company has a Chief Information Officer and a Chief Information Security Officer, and they report to the board about potential cybersecurity risks. Let's talk about how the executives get paid. The Human Capital and Compensation Committee makes sure everyone's getting a fair deal. The CEO and other executives don't get a say in their own pay. The company also has policies in place, so if there's a restatement of past earning numbers because of an accounting error, executives will have to give back any bonus they didn't deserve in the first place. The company has to spell out why they pay their top people what they do. The main goals are to reward good financial performance and keep talented executives from leaving. A big part of their pay is tied to how well the company does, based on things like return on equity and earnings per share. Plus, executives have to own a certain amount of company stock, so their interests are aligned with the shareholders. The company requires its executives to own shares of company stock as a multiple of their salary, to make sure they're invested in the company's long-term success. Shareholders get a non-binding vote on executive pay each year, to give the board a pulse of what they think of the executive compensation packages. The compensation packages usually include a mix of base salary, bonuses, stock awards, and a few extra benefits. For last year, the executive bonuses were based on the company's earnings per share and return on equity. Because the company performed so well, executives received a bonus equal to 250% of their target. The company awarded executives with restricted shares of common stock, which will vest over time as long as they stay with the company. The company does provide certain perks. For example, the executive chairman can use the company aircraft for personal travel. The company has employment agreements with certain executives, and they've also approved change in control agreements. These agreements outline what happens if someone leaves or if the company is sold. The company must disclose what would happen if there was a change in control or an executive were to be terminated. The specific payouts would depend on the situation. The filing lists compensation for Robert Ortenzio, David Cherno, Michael Malatesta, Martin Jackson, and Thomas Mullen. Now for what you, as a stockholder, can propose. If you have an idea for something you want the company to do or someone you want on the board, you have to let the company know well in advance. Time to elect the Class I directors to the board. The board of directors has nominated Russell Carson, Catherine Davison, William Frist, and Marilyn Taverner. The board recommends you vote for all of them. Here is an important item. Stockholders are being asked to vote on getting rid of supermajority voting requirements. Right now, some things require a 66.23% vote to pass. This proposal would lower that threshold to just a simple majority, which the board is recommending you approve. The idea is it could make it easier for stockholders to have their voices heard. The board is also asking you to approve a policy that sets how much the non-employee directors get paid. This includes both cash and stock awards, and the board thinks this will help attract and keep good people on the board. Now, onto some shareholder proposals. This one asks the company to make it so that all directors are elected every year instead of having staggered terms. This would give shareholders more power to hold directors accountable. The board is taking a neutral stance. Here's a very interesting one. A shareholder is proposing that the company commission a report on the feasibility of serving primarily plant-based meals to patients. The board is against this. They say they already offer healthy food options, and the highly personalized nature of medical diets means that they cannot cater to a single requirement. Plus, some of their facilities don't even control their own food procurement. They say it will be a waste of time and money to study this. Finally, the company is asking you to approve their choice of PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP as their accounting firm. The Audit and Compliance Committee thinks they're great. The board recommends you vote for. Speaking of PricewaterhouseCoopers, they charged the company about $5.2 million for their services last year, mostly for the audit itself. The Audit and Compliance Committee is responsible for making sure that finances are in order. Let's take a look at who owns the most stock. BlackRock, T. Rowe Price, and Vanguard Group, all big investment firms, are the largest shareholders, and then we have a list of what the company's executives and board members own. This table shows the equity compensation plan and the number of securities to be issued if equity rights were exercised, weighed against the average exercise price. It also shows the number of securities that would remain available if all rights were exercised. Select Medical leases their office space from companies that Robert Ortenzio, the executive chairman and co-founder, is associated with. This could be perceived as a potential conflict of interest, but the company says that they obtained independent appraisals to ensure the rent they're paying is fair. Robert Ortenzio also has an agreement with the company to use a NetJets aircraft, for which he was paid $128,090 last year. Recently, the company spun off Concentra. The separation is complex, and the tax matter agreement clarifies who is responsible for what when it comes to paying taxes. Lastly, the company states that 8 of the 10 directors are independent. Now, taking a step back and looking at the company's direction, Select Medical is facing an interesting crossroads. The push for a change in governance with a move away from supermajority voting and a potential declassified board could make the company more responsive to shareholders. However, it could also open them up to short-term pressures. The debate over plant-based meals is also interesting. It highlights the tension between cutting costs and catering to diverse patient needs and sustainability goals. As for risks, the related party transactions like the office leases and NetJets agreement always warrant a closer look, but the company has taken steps to ensure fair pricing. From a valuation standpoint, Select Medical is trading at an interesting level, and their earnings multiple makes them fairly valued for the time being. Overall, I'm leaning towards a cautiously bullish outlook. The company has strong fundamentals, is highly profitable, and these changes and discussions that these proxy materials bring up are a signal that the company is willing to listen to stakeholders. I think a reasonable price target for Select Medical's stock is $20, $24. If you found this breakdown helpful, please subscribe for more corporate deep dives. Thanks for watching.